We are back footnoting on the Fancy Animation podcast with me, Chris Holliday.
And me, Alex Sargent.
Once again, we are at the BAFTS, or we are still at the BAFTS Annual Conference 2024. Yes, so thanks to the University of Sussex for housing us. We are here, as Alex said, doing our last footnote of the conference. We are talking about aura / I guess the auratic. What does aura mean? Aura is something that's been on our list to footnote, I guess, for a while, to footnote list. Now, Alex, I learnt about this through your kind of work, research, thinking about aura and the auratic. We've also taught classes together on film theory where the aura has come up, and it's still something that I think, certainly in the age of artificial intelligence, maybe digital technology, this idea of the aura of art is being kind of withered, taken away, transformed. So I will set the timer, as I think you will rightly take the lead on this one. So 10 minutes on on aura. Where does it come from? How have you used the term? Let's see if we can, as you said, I think before we started, you said we can't do it full justice, but we can at least do it partial.
We'll give it a good go.
Yeah.
Right, so I guess we're talking about aura in relationship to film and media studies, which comes from a very famous essay in our discipline by a theorist named Walter Benjamin. An essay that's kind of translated in various slightly different terms, but basically an essay called The Work of Art in the Mechanical Age of Reproduction. It can be renamed just slightly different things. There's a couple of different versions of it, which keeps us all busy because everyone has a quibble about which is the more authentic and when he wrote which and when he wrote that, but let's just pretend there's one for the purposes of this conversation. And in this essay, he draws on a kind of term that's just used in everyday parlance. It partly comes from kind of mystic circles, and it partly comes from other kind of attempts to think through the new kind of mass society that's emerging all around them. And he argues that there is this thing in artistic reception called aura, and that thing is going away because we are living in an age of mechanical reproduction. So because our art is now mechanically reproduced, aura is disappearing.
Okay, so I kind of get the technological narrative. We can certainly return to the idea of aura, the auratic, the kind of the experience of art being kind of taken away. What is aura? Is it a kind of spectatorial engagement with an artwork? Is it a fear of the artwork? Is it both of those things at once?
It's very difficult to give you a definitive answer because everyone disagrees. Because Benjamin, the more you read of Benjamin, the less clear it is exactly what it is. But let's pretend I didn't just say that and try and give everyone a definition so we can all move on with our lives. Yeah. It's a sensation that one experiences in the encounter of the work of art. I think some people would argue it's in the work of art, but it's a quality we could use to describe the work of art, whether that's something we're feeling or whether the art itself has this quality is something we can perhaps just park. But it's a sensation that is about the object of the work of art, and it tries to capture a feeling of immense affect, whereby you feel in the presence of a work of art. So I guess the best way I can try to illuminate it is imagine, that when you walk into the Louvre and you walk over to the Mona Lisa and you see the Mona Lisa and everyone is cramming to see it. It's because it's not a picture, it is the Mona Lisa. And you feel in the presence of a work of art, you are experiencing aura. I think actually that's a really bad example because if anyone has actually seen the Mona Lisa, I don't think you feel particularly auratic, but I feel the aura of Starry Night when I've seen it in the MoMA of the encountering a work of art and feeling its presence upon you.
Okay, so there is a debate between whether or not aura is something that is contained within the artwork, or it would seem there's another way of thinking where aura is kind of intersubjective, that you are somehow, I know that a work of art in this sense, it doesn't have a subjectivity, but there's something about our collision with the artwork, maybe.
Yes.
That there's a kind of,
is it the way we've been asked to see the art that's auratic, or is it the art itself that is auratic?
So why then? So Mona Lisa, and funnily enough, I always use that as an example, and then I always have to give the caveat of...
That's a bad example. I actually think a better example might be like seeing a beautiful building, because you can see an image of the Great Pyramids of Giza, you can see an image of the Colosseum at Rome, you can see an image of the Vatican, but when you see the Vatican, there's an aura of being of being there in that space.
So how does the age of mechanical reproduction, cinema, photography, why is that taking away the aura?
Yes. Well, it's taking away the aura.
Or diminishing the aura, maybe, is a better way of thinking about it. Or maybe not.
No, taking away the aura. It's taking away the aura because there is no original anymore. So there is no sense of being in the presence of the work of art. So when we encounter, the example Benjamin uses is a Charlie Chaplin movie. But a selfie when we encounter a film, a TV show, when we stream something on Netflix, there is no original work of art by which we are encountering. Right, we don't have to travel to a site-specific location to see Toy Story. Right, you can just watch it on any platform you want. It doesn't make sense to talk about Toy Story as being in Los Angeles. In the same way, it makes sense to talk about the Mona Lisa being in Paris. So that's why Benjamin at least argues that once you can mechanically reproduce art has no original copy. There's no such thing as the copy or the original anymore. Therefore, we lose this sense of the auratic when we encounter art. We just watch it, we just experience it, we just look at it.
So I've just learned something, because I think my understanding of aura when I've taught it, or one of the gnarly, to get to grips with the gnarliness of a term that Benjamin himself perhaps doesn't quite fully fully define, or at least does over 3 articles, let's say.
His entire body of work, and he keeps changing his mind. So yeah.
But I suppose on the one hand, I kind of thought of aura as or the impact of photography and film on, one doesn't have to go to the Mona Lisa. One can see a recording of the Mona Lisa, and so there's that issue that at least there's a kind of democratic quality to technology because it allows the image to travel. But I hadn't kind of thought this sort of. This idea that there is no original Toy Story.
That's what he really is talking about.
The site-specific
He's not really talking in the essay about copies of
existing art.
He's talking about art that is itself based on photography, on mass media.
Excellent. And I was thinking, I suppose when I've taught this, I've thought about, I think when the Queen died, and there were all these kind of surrogate digital images cropping up in various places on the underground, and this sort of kind of surrogacy of replacing. So this is part of the rhetoric, I'm guessing, of kind of contemporary, whether it's deep fakes or even 3D kind of technology, being able to, you go to the cinema to see 3D, but you can't, or you can only see it in, I don't know, I'm just, this sort of kind of technology and aura seems to be being reconfigured maybe in the digital age, or...
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I guess one of the debates that, so Benjamin says aura is dying, and he's quite happy about it because he's a Marxist theorist, and he thinks that this idea of being kind of beholden to the art, once it's auratic, has this sense of authority and power, right? We kind of humble ourselves in front of the art. Because we feel kind of blessed to be in its presence, whilst a Charlie Chaplin film doesn't have that sense of authority, and so he says that allows for a more kind of democratic or more kind of powerful relationship between the spectator and the work of art. So he's very happy, or at least in the artwork essay, as we're calling it, he is very happy that aura is dying. In other bits of his work, he's more ambivalent about aura's kind of capacity. So I think a debate, if we're talking about kind of post-Benjamin, a debate is aura a good thing, and did it actually die? Is kind of the kind of things that people have played with.
Yeah, well, so actually on that note, Benjamin's writing in the 30s, 20s into the 30s?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, he publishes multiple versions of this, so my chronology a bit hazy, but about then, yeah. So,
and his work, it has been, as you said at the start, sort of within our discipline, there are a number of scholars that have kind of engaged with it and reflected on it.
Yeah.
So has it been relevant to... maybe I'm thinking about kind of fantasy animation, of course, digital animation. Your example was Toy Story. So actually that's a really good... We have the original cells of, let's say, a Looney Tunes cartoon, but we don't have original place... the idea of placing and kind of site specificness, I guess, in animation is complicated once through cell animation, and then complicated again with something like Toy Story. But has it been used to think about fantasy or not?
Not really. I've tried to use it unsuccessfully, I think, to think about some of the contemporary debates surrounding media distribution. I think in an age of streaming where everything is so ubiquitous, I think Benjamin has quite an interesting view on cinemas as this kind of quite anarchic, subversive space where capitalist...
He's been to the Odeon on holiday.
Capitalist structures are somehow undone as these spectators kind of pay little reverence to the Charlie Chaplin movie. I wonder if he were alive today whether he'd feel quite so pleased about cinema's capacity to undo capitalist structures given where we are, right? I think in a world where we are saturated with media everywhere, a sense of being in the here and now, which the aura seems to articulate, seems almost to me now, when it once was conservative, in Benjamin's view, might now have a subversive quality, right? We are always in multiple places, experiencing multiple things. But aura makes us ground us in the moment, in the here and now, and there might be something interesting in that. But I'm not quite sure how we think through. And others are probably are doing work on this and things like that.
So with 40 seconds left, who are the others? I know Miriam Bratu Hansen has written a lot on Benjamin's aura.
She's a real great scholar of aura, and I would recommend checking her out, Miriam Bratu Hansen. She's got numerous publications on this to effect. Cinema and Experience is the big one, but there are lots and lots of articles out there by her. There are other theorists who are names escape me, but it's been used quite a lot in media and culture studies to sort of think about various objects that are auratic. And then there's the Benjamin piece itself, of course.
Yeah, I'm now thinking about the role of kind of podcast studies in relation to aura. And kind of this new kind of shift, and the fact that we're sitting here. I don't know.
I would argue maybe a podcast is a fundamentally unauratic experience on one level, because you're not in our here and now listening to this. We are deliberately presenting ourselves for a future that doesn't, there's a kind of splitting of, but at the same time, part of what the appeal of podcasts are, when people have talked about it, is that feeling of being in the place with someone, right?
Yes. Well, we've hit time. Let's sign off from the place.
Yes. All right. Well, that's aura. And it was fun to have this auratic experience with you, Chris.
Well, yes, exactly.
Okay, so if you have any other suggestions for Footnote episodes or any questions about what we just said, you can submit suggestions for future Footnote episodes at fananimresearch, FANANIM research @gmail.com. Be delighted to hear from you. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.
Bye.